Title: The Red Sky. Chapter 1. Childhood Memories. I used to love the color of the red sky as a kid. I remember sitting on my grandfather's porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon and the sky turn a deep, rich red. It was a time of innocence and wonder, when the world seemed like a magical place. But as I grew older, I began to notice something unsettling about those red skies. It seemed like every time the sky turned red, someone would disappear. At first, it was just a coincidence, something I didn't pay much attention to. But as the years went by, I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. There was a correlation between the red sky and the disappearances. Chapter 2. The First Disappearance. The first time I noticed the correlation, I was 13 years old. A girl from my school, Jenny, went missing one summer evening. We had all been out late, playing capture the flag in the woods behind our neighborhood. The sun had already set by the time we finished, and we were making our way back to the streetlights when the sky turned a deep shade of red. I remember feeling an eerie sensation as we walked, like something was watching us from the shadows. When we got back to the edge of the woods, Jenny wasn't with us. We searched the woods for hours, calling out her name, but she was nowhere to be found. They never found her, not a trace. It was like she had vanished into thin air. Chapter 3. The pattern emerges over the years. There were more disappearances, each one occurring on a night when the sky turned red. People started to talk about it, to wonder if there was some kind of curse on our town. Parents stopped letting their kids play outside after dark, and the streets were empty whenever the sky turned red. I tried to ignore the correlation, to tell myself that it was just a coincidence. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. My grandfather, who had lived in the town his entire life, told me stories of the red sky and the disappearances that came with it. He said that it had been happening for as long as he could remember. But he couldn't explain why. Chapter 4. Investigating. As I got older, I became more obsessed with the correlation between the red sky and the disappearances. I started keeping a journal, recording every instance of the red sky and the corresponding disappearances. I did research, trying to find any information that could explain what was happening. But the more I dug, the less I found. It was like the disappearances were a mystery that no one could solve. One night, when I was out walking, I saw something strange in the sky. It was a dark, red cloud, unlike any I had ever seen before. I knew what it meant. Someone was going to disappear. Chapter 5. The Hunt. I decided to take action. I was determined to figure out what was happening and put an end to it once and for all. I enlisted the help of my friend, Josh, who was equally obsessed with the disappearances. Together, we started tracking the night when the sky turned red. We waited, watching from a distance as people went about their business, unaware of the danger that was looming. At sunset, the sky turned red, just as we had predicted. We donned our backpacks and headed out into the night, following the red cloud as it hovered over the town. It was like the cloud was leading us somewhere. We followed it through the streets, staying hidden in the shadows, until it led us to an old abandoned building on the outskirts of town. Chapter 6. The Revelation. We crept inside, our hearts pounding with fear and excitement. It was dark, and the air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. We made our way through the building, searching for any clues to what was happening. And then I saw it. There was a room at the end of the hallway, with walls painted red and symbols etched into the wood. In the center of the room, there was a group of people, gathered around a man in a hooded robe. They were performing some kind of ritual. I was about to call out to Josh when I saw something else. In the corner of the room, there was a pile of bodies. It was like a lightning bolt had gone off in my brain. I knew what was happening. This was a cult, sacrificing people to some dark force in the hopes of gaining power. Chapter 7. The Final Battle. Josh and I knew what we had to do. We crept up to the group, staying hidden in the shadows, until we were close enough to hear what they were saying. They were chanting in some language I didn't understand, holding a young girl in the center of the group. We couldn't let this happen. We sprang out of the shadows, our weapons at the ready. The cultists turned, taken by surprise. We fought back with everything we had, hitting them with our batons and fists. It was a brutal fight, but in the end, we emerged victorious. The cultists retreated, leaving their sacrificial victim behind. We freed the girl, taking her to the authorities who arrived shortly after. They arrested the cultists, and the red sky never appeared again. Chapter 8: The Aftermath. After the cult was brought to justice, the town started to heal. People returned to their normal routines, no longer afraid of the red sky. But I couldn't forget what had happened. I couldn't shake the feeling that there were other cults out there, performing twisted rituals in the hopes of gaining power. And I knew that I had to be prepared to fight them, no matter what it took. As I sat on my grandfather's porch, watching the sun set and the sky turn red once again, I knew that I couldn't let myself become complacent. The red sky was a warning. It was a reminder that evil still lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike. And I would be ready.